Hello and welcome. My name's Leanne. I live in Australia and this is my crafty cupboard.
Good morning. We're back for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, Volume 3, Down the Garden Path. And this prompt this time was for a garden bench or seat. So I had two ideas instantly. So this video will focus on one. So a long time ago I designed a cushion that had this sweet little bench and flowers around it. So I'm going to use that. This was all designed to be iron-on applique, with the Fix and blanket stitch around the edges to secure all the edges. But this being a slow stitch piece, I'm not going to worry about the Fix, and I've shrunk it down to half size so it can fit because my scroll is quite small. It's like the length of my fingers, a little bit longer. Probably just going to draw the shapes on the materials that I pick for the flowers, but this one I want to be able to trace around it, so I'm going to cut that out now. I'm in two minds whether to cut. So these are cutouts on the original piece, but they're quite tiny now that I've shrunk them half size. So maybe I might just applique little hearts over in their place. The same as the backing fabric. I think I might cheat in that manner, make it easier. I'm also thinking of cheating and sticking the legs on. I've cut two, so I must have just done them at the front. This is a fabulous find. This fabric with the wood grain. And we need some arms. They're tiny.
Look, she's cleaning the kitchen and it says something, cleaning the kitchen, listening. And when your old special club dance song comes on and she starts going. She lost track of what she was doing. Everybody in the club, like it was her. She went from normal cleaning to like thinking she was in a club because her song. It's pretty funny, eh?
She's funny.
I'll give her credit, that lady. She tapped into it.
a hot crust bun with me. That's cheeky. The Easter bunny must have taken a bolt. One of my favourite parts of this project is when I've worked out what I'm doing and I pack all the crazy box of fabric bits up back into the cupboard, and I get to sit down and relax with a clear table, clear view, just the things I need. Looking out onto the garden, my cup of tea, very relaxing.
I use Soline glue to just tack everything down because the pieces are too tiny, and if I have that many pins, I'm going to get my thread constantly tangled. So it's time just to do the little invisible running stitch. So tiny stitch on the front, bigger stitch across the back, just to secure the background fabric down. This part of the stitching is just so peaceful. You can sit in a comfy chair and relax. Where's your favourite place to sit and sew? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me about the chair you sit on and where it is and what you can see. When I'm not filming for the camera, I like to sit in a comfy old armchair that I have. It's the first piece of furniture I got. I've just switched up the camera angle here for you. I think that you can see the stitching a little bit better this way. I'm a little slow and awkward because I'm working the wrong way. So I'm working from the right of from the left back to the right. So in order to achieve that, I'm just doing a stabbing stitch instead of running stitch. But actually I do find it gives me a more precise tiny stitch on the front than I achieve when I'm doing a running stitch. Of course, normally I would just turn my piece upside down and still work right to left. Get to the end. Time to knot off that thread before it gets too small to knot. Can't tell you how many times I get to the back of the work and trying to tie the knot off and have to do things like take it out of the needle, wrap it around the needle, rethread the needle to pull it through. It's much better when you've got a bit of thread left here to easily tie your knot. I just secure the ends under a few of the stitches across the back and cut it off. Yes, I like the stabbing stitch. It, like I say, gives me a tinier stitch on the front. Time to pick thread colour for blanket stitching around the hearts. I think this one will be good. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think that's going to blend the nicest out of all my threads. So you can see now I've actually switched surfaces and I've got on my lap the cushion that I work on. Well, actually it's probably not on my lap, it's probably resting on the table. Because it does just raise your work up that little bit higher so that you can sit upright and comfortably. And a nice soft resting place for your hands instead of the hard table edge. So these are just blanket stitched all the way around. So you take a vertical stitch, and it I guess secures the thread that you're laying across. So lay the thread across and then take a vertical stitch in and out on top of that thread to hold it down. So you can see my thumb just holds down the thread I'm laying across. So it just secures down the edges of the fabric, the raw edge as well. And so to keep working all the way around. You want to try and have that vertical stitch come out close to the edge of the fabric, not too far away, otherwise it's not going to cover the edge of the fabric. Yeah, so back to I was talking about my favourite chair. So when I got it, I swapped it with someone. It was secondhand, and it was on a round circular base with a spring, 3 springs. But this, so it could sort of be a bit of a rocking chair if you like. But of course the springs gave way, and so I went off to the hardware and got a MDF, very thick MDF base, and screwed that to the base of the chair and inserted some legs, and I've recovered it twice or 3 times now. Still a very, very comfy armchair. The table that I work on also was secondhand to me 30 years ago, and I love this table. It's filled with all the signs of life that it's had. Spilt nail polish from little girls and little marks where we attach a ping pong net, play ping pong on rainy days, and worn sections from my teapot, little flecks of paint here and there. It's a table that's got stories to tell, and I like that about objects. I'm about to package all of this up to take on the plane with me to Melbourne, and so probably the next time you see this piece it'll be finished. So I apologise for not being able to film the next few sections, but I intend to just use the same style of stitching all over it anyway.
Good morning. So I went away to Melbourne for a couple of days with my sister. We went and visited the Australasian Quilt Convention, and I took with me on the plane my Roxy's Journal of Stitchery down the garden path. Not down the garden bath, down the garden path roll. So I could keep working on the latest prompt, the garden bench. So let's unroll it and find how it finished up. So there's my little garden bench. I blanket stitched down all of the elements, but then I added some further embellishments. So with the centres on this one, I've just done straight stitch radiating out from the centre. On the leaves I had done that sort of fly stitch, the same as you can see on the felt leaves on this piece. Sort of make the veins of the leaves, though because it's a variegated fabric, it's pretty hard to see and tell. Then the little lilac flowers here, they're just blanket stitch because they're quite tiny, so that filled those up. This pink flower, as well as the blanket stitch around the outside, got lines radiating out from the centre, and then a little bullion rose in the middle. And then for the sunflowers, they were not blanket stitched. I just did back stitch around the edges. You might remember initially the green background was still there. So once I back stitched around the petals, I've come back through and cut the green fabric away. Some straight stitches radiating out from the centre, and a couple of different colours of French knots in the middle. I initially had left the bench just plain and just had the back stitch to show the seat part of the bench, but it was puffing out too much and there was too much of it unsecured. I think if you sort of did a method of Lysafix or something like that where it's actually adhered to the surface, it's fine to leave it, but it needed to be stitched down. So there we go, that's the latest installment. Can't wait for the next prompt. I'm having so much fun. And it's nice just to try out all your different techniques in the project. So mine's, even though it's a scroll, certainly has evolved to become a set of pages on each prompt. I was hoping while I was down in Melbourne to find an antique bobbin. Certainly found lots, but none for sale. Well, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. I thought you might be interested to see how I carried my stitching with me. So I was sitting in an exit row, which means you can't have any luggage on the floor under you. So I took this little pouch because this is tiny and this could fit in the seat pocket of the seat in front of me. So the first thing I attached to this pouch when I made it is a little pair of travel scissors. So this is rounded blade and very tiny, so got through security at airport, no trouble at all. And I attach that to the tassel on the end of the zip to make sure they're easy to find. Do have the little cover attached as well, usually, but somehow I just managed to cut off the string as I opened them, so I'll have to reattach that. So this is one of those pouches that can fold down and it can stand, which is really nice and useful. So I just had the scroll in the middle. Had with me a self-disappearing pen, pencil, and a sew line glue. A couple of little quilt clips. I find those useful for, on the scrolls, rolling up the excess scroll and just clipping it so that it's out of my way as I'm working on anything. I always have some neutral coloured bottom line thread in this little case to use. I carry my needles in this little case. This is actually a tube that the glue comes in to replace in this pen. So when the glue was done, I kept the tube, and that meant my needles were nice and secure. And I couldn't accidentally hurt myself or anyone else with my purse when I was travelling. And also I could take great care. So I had 4 needles with me, and I just kept count at all times. And I also kept threads that I was using attached. In here I have the embroidery cotton I was using. So these are actually something that was gifted to me from another lady that sews, but she doesn't do embroidery, and she asked if I might find some embroidery cottons useful because she'd been left a lovely gift of some sewing supplies from a lady that had passed, and she wouldn't find a use for these. So I was very grateful to receive these and to put them to good use. And I hope that the lady knows up there somewhere that her sewing treasures are still treasured and being used. And yeah, so that's my useful little kit, and got through airport security, no problems with these tiny little scissors. I've also got another set. Let's see if I can find them. In this little case, and same thing again, they're blunt on the end and such a short blade that there's no issue. And I saw that at the quilt convention, the Scissor Man had these for sale, so that's a good thing to invest in if you want to travel. And so this is a magnet, so this is really useful because I just put a keychain on my scissors, and so they stick nicely to the magnet in the little pouch. This little pouch was from Studio Mio. It was a kit I bought from Studio Mio a very long time ago. And yeah, the magnet's also good for securing the needle, so I just stick the needle in the fish and the magnet holds it so that the point's covered. I tend to put my sashiko thread in this one and carry this with me when I'm taking sashiko somewhere with me to stitch on.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.